This is the Everyday AI Show, the everyday podcast where we simplify AI and bring its power to your fingertips. Listen daily for practical advice to boost your career, business, and everyday life.
It is June, y'all, and you know what that means? Hot AI summer is officially here. Yeah, I mean, we have a new model from Anthropic and Opus 4.8, but we also have fresh breaking news from NVIDIA and Microsoft that could make Windows and Copilot very relevant again in the AI race. And speaking of hot AI summer in Microsoft, yeah, we're like one day away now from Microsoft's Build conference, just as we get wind that we may see a new Copilot super app soon from them. And what's that? OpenAI is going all in on robotics again? Yeah, a lot of brand spanking AI news this week that could reshape how we all do business. So don't spend hours each day trying to make sense of it. I do that for you here on Everyday AI in our weekly AI News That Matters series. All right, let's get into it. Welcome to Everyday AI. My name is Jordan Wilson, and well, I'm the host, and well, we do this every day. Everyday AI, it's your daily live stream podcast and free daily newsletter helping everyday business leaders like you and me not just keep up with all of the nonstop AI advancements, but I tell you how to use it, what matters, what doesn't, and you take that information to grow your company and your career, and you look like the smartest person in AI at your company. So on Mondays, well, except when there's a holiday like last week, but on Mondays, we do the AI news that matters. On Wednesdays, we usually go hands-on doing an AI demo with our working Wednesdays. On Friday, we bring you the Friday features, the newest features across large language models. And Tuesday and Thursday, we rotate shows. All right, enough of that chit chat. But if you are in San Francisco for Microsoft Build, make sure to hit me up. I'm out here already. If you're watching the video version of the podcast, you see I'm in a hotel room, not in my normal setup. So if you are in San Francisco, whether it's for Build or not, make sure to listen or check out your show notes. And I always put my LinkedIn link in there. So reach out to me, let me know that you are there. Let's meet up and chat, talk AI, right? All right. Let's get into the AI news first. This is probably one of the bigger news and one of the bigger pivots, I would say, or potential pivots that we've seen from Microsoft in a while. So according to a Fortune report, Microsoft is working on a new all-in-one super app that could bring together Copilot, GitHub Copilot, Copilot Cowork, and a new agentic feature called Autopilot or Scout. So the news is timely because Microsoft is trying to simplify a growing and confusing set of AI products while also catching up to rivals that have built stronger public momentum around their chatbots and agentic coding systems. There's also been some leaked screenshots of the app, which appear to show a proactive AI agent named Scout inside of the planned experience. There also appears to be a GitHub Copilot coding tab, as well as a Cowork tab. So some of these products, obviously, right, Microsoft has had GitHub Copilot for years. They just started a couple of months ago rolling out their Cowork feature, but everything else in terms of them rolling it all under one umbrella, this is pretty big, right? I think it's pretty plain to see one of the biggest problems that Microsoft has had over the last year and a half or so is, well, it's Copilot everywhere, right? Like I saw a chart once that had hundreds of instances of where you can get Copilot across their ecosystem. So I love this step with their, this reported super app and essentially bringing, kind of their four main features all on one. That's Copilot, right? So your, Copilot that you chat with, so that's your version of ChatGPT as an example. Your GitHub Copilot, right? So that's your coding assistant, like your Claude Code. Then your Copilot Cowork, that's very much like Anthropic's Cowork or OpenAI's Codex. And then their new agentic feature called Autopilot. So from what I see, that looks a little bit more like Google Gemini's just released Spark. So we'll see. And reports right now say it's unclear if they're actually going to be announcing this at the Build conference this week. But it does look like a public launch could happen as soon as the end of summer. So the project is being overseen by Jacob Andro, Microsoft's executive vice president of Copilot, and it may combine both the consumer and enterprise versions of Microsoft's assistants into one central interface. I think that's something that would be a smart move if they do that, because a lot of people, if they're using their Copilot at home and they have a free version of Copilot, or like me, I've had a paid version of the personal Copilot, and then you look at your enterprise version and it looks different. So I am very much so excited for this if it does happen, because I do think that kind of super app concept is the right way to go. And if you're confused, like, okay, what's this whole super app thing? Long story short is it brings a lot of other capabilities that you can't get in a front end AI chatbot, right? Like going to copilot.microsoft.com or gemini.google.com or claude.ai or chatgpt.com, right? It's very limited in terms of what you can do in terms of running, long range agents, in terms of accessing your local files and writing. That's another big one. And then using the terminal as well, which really opens up a whole host of things, not just for coding, but also for knowledge work. So pretty interesting to see. And this move does also come right after Microsoft revealed their redesigned Microsoft 365 Copilot app, which will still exist alongside the separate consumer Microsoft Copilot app for now. All right. Some pretty fresh news here out of NVIDIA, as their CEO, Jensen Huang, keynoted the Computex conference in Taiwan. So two pretty big stories here from NVIDIA. The first, well, NVIDIA now has the best open weights AI model in the US, at least, right? Not quite there for the rest of the world, as the Chinese open source models are pretty far ahead. But when it comes to, at least here in the US, NVIDIA's new Nemotron 3 Ultra is taking the cake. So that is their newly released 550 billion parameter hybrid Mamba transformer mixture of experts model designed for long-running enterprise agents. So according to Artificial Analysis, which had the benchmarks ready to go, their newly announced Nemotron 3 Ultra scored a 48 on their intelligence index, making it the strongest US open weights model currently measured. So the model was unveiled during Jensen's keynote. And like I said, it doesn't just have the 550 billion total parameters with 55 billion active, and that makes it the largest Nemotron 3 release so far. So yeah, there are others in the Nemotron family. If you're like, that's not new, it's not, but Ultra is, right? So it serves as the flagship in the heavy-duty engine of the NVIDIA Nemotron family. So it does deliver frontier-level intelligence, not quite frontier, but frontier-level intelligence. It leads out of an open model while still utilizing sparse activation to keep operational costs low and the model very fast. So Nemotron 3 leads other US open weight models such as Gemma 4, which got a 39 on Artificial Analysis, and Nemotron 3 Super, their previous one, which scored a 36 on the same index. Speed, though, I mean, this thing is all about speed. So it's not going to outbench the Chinese models, but it is fast in, relatively intelligence, at least when it comes to measuring models. So with the pre-release deep infra endpoint reportedly served more than 300 tokens per second, compared to the roughly 50 or 100 tokens per second for similar large models from DeepSeek and Moonshot. So pretty big news there from NVIDIA, but it actually wasn't even their biggest news from Computex. That's because they announced a major partnership with Microsoft for some new laptops that look really, really good. So NVIDIA is introducing its first ARM-based CPU chips for consumer laptops and mini PCs under the RTX Spark name, with the first products expected this fall from Asus, Dell, HP, Lenovo, MSI, Microsoft Surface, and others. So the Microsoft Surface version, I'm sure we'll be hearing a lot more about that at Build. It's kind of being billed unofficially as Microsoft's version of a MacBook Pro, as the company has not been able to yet compete in the high-end AI laptop market. But the big news is that NVIDIA is not just pitching this as a faster laptop chip, as Jensen Huang said at Computex, that Microsoft and NVIDIA want to reinvent the PC around local AI agents that can run tasks around the clock. So yeah, this is very much geared toward not just the OpenClaw crowd, but also just the enterprise local agents. And you can see how this might make a lot of sense, right? When you combine something like their Nemotron 3 Ultra with PCs that can now run it out of the box, right? That's a pretty big step forward in what's possible out of a PC laptop. The first RTX Spark laptops will use an N1X processor made with MediaTek and built on TSMC's 3-nanometer processor, putting NVIDIA directly in consumer PC chip market, long dominated by Intel, AMD, Apple, and Qualcomm. So yeah, pretty big here that NVIDIA is going from the essentially the GPU leader to they're saying, oh, well, no, we're going to also compete in the PC chip market now. So we'll see what happens with NVIDIA stock. This is not financial advice, but I'm guessing as markets open here any minute, yeah, watch. It's probably going to go a little bit of kaboomy. So the memory setup could also let users run AI models with up to 120 billion parameters locally. So the catch, though, is price, because NVIDIA has not yet released RTX Spark pricing or independent performance benchmarks. Those two things are very important. So we'll see when we get benchmarks, when these are actually going to be released and how much they're going to cost. But if they do benchmark well, the actual PCs, and as long as they are, kind of in that MacBook Pro range, right, which is in the, 2,500 to 3,500 for some of the more higher ends, I would expect this to be a very successful laptop. Like I said, the technology looks there for NVIDIA to make a big move from being the undisputed GPT king that prints money to intentionally playing in this space and partnering with Microsoft. They're not just doing it, for another line of revenue. They're doing it because they think that they can compete at the absolute highest level. All right. More Jensen Huang news. Well, this one's not necessarily about NVIDIA, but more of his response to the recent AI layoff claims. Because if you've missed it, over the past few weeks, there's been more than a dozen high-profile layoffs at huge companies, with these CEOs more or less either blaming AI or citing AI as the reason that they were laying tens of thousands of employees off. Yeah, just in the month of May, it was unfortunately a jobs bloodbath. So we saw thousands of jobs cut across Wix, Coinbase, Meta, Cisco, Cloudflare, ClickUp, Standard Chartered, and more, all in May. And for the most part, all of those CEOs just blamed AI. In a recent interview, NVIDIA CEO Jensen Huang said it is lazy for company leaders to blame AI for layoffs, arguing that some executives are using AI as a convenient excuse for broader cost cutting. So Wang made the comments in an interview Monday in Taiwan, saying that AI has just arrived and questioning how companies could have been cutting jobs because of AI before the tools were widely useful at work. So his key argument is the timing. So Wang said that generative AI became productive and useful only recently, so it does not make sense for companies to claim they were laying people off 2 years ago because of AI. So Wang said some CEOs may be blaming AI-driven layoffs to sound smart, adding that he really hates that because he believes it creates unnecessary fear among workers. And this is actually going to be, I think, a growing story here in the second and third quarter, because I've been saying this for a long time, right? As soon as you get the enterprise companies or some of the tech forward or AI forward companies like those that I just mentioned, as soon as they start writing this game plan, right? This, hey, we're cutting 1,000 employees, 5,000 employees, 8,000 employees because our AI is that good and it's making jobs redundant, right? For the most part, stock prices go up. So this is kind of unfortunately writing the blueprint for other enterprise. I do see Fortune 500 companies following suit with this. I don't see personally, I do think that there's going to be some exponential job growth because of AI. But yeah, I think a lot, unfortunately, we are going to see a lot of enterprise kind of following suit here, blaming, especially public companies, blaming AI because they're seeing what these companies are doing through the first part of 2026 so far. I think there's only been one company that's done this where their stock hasn't gone up. So it seems to be, at least in terms of how Wall Street views it, as a safe way to lay off thousands of employees. But Jensen Huang calling a spade here, saying it's kind of BS for CEOs to say it's AI's fault. I think for the most part, a lot of companies obviously overhired, during the pandemic and really have yet to find new lanes of revenue, right? With this quote unquote save time. So instead of saying that they overhired and mismanaged hiring, instead they're saying, oh, our AI, our applied AI is so good that, well, now we have redundancies. Speaking of AI jobs, well, two of the CEOs that are probably in charge of the fate of what work looks like in 3 to 5 years are starting to pedal back a little bit on their earlier job warnings. So according to some recent interviews, both OpenAI CEO Sam Altman and Anthropic CEO Dario Amati are both now softening their earlier warnings that AI would rapidly wipe out white-collar jobs, even as both companies are reportedly preparing IPOs with estimated valuations of more than $1 trillion each. So Altman told the Commonwealth Bank of Australia CEO Matt Coman on Tuesday that he was, quote unquote, pretty wrong about the speed of AI-driven job losses, saying he earlier expected that there would be more entry-level white-collar roles to be eliminated by now than that have actually not disappeared. So the shift is significant because Altman warned last June that entry-level jobs were at serious risk, helping fuel broader concern that AI could sharply reduce opportunities for younger workers and office employees. Altman said he still believes the risk is real, but defended raising the alarm, saying he thought it was better to warn people early than ignore a threat that could still develop. Altman said a personal test changed his view. After trying to delegate Slack and email messages to AI, he went back to handling them himself because human interaction still mattered more than he had expected. Anthropic CEO Dario Amati has also changed his framing in some recent interviews after previously warning that AI could eliminate 50% of white-collar jobs. He now says automation may let workers focus on the most valuable parts of their jobs and produce more. Okay, so I think actually in this case, Dario got off very easy, right? Because kind of since both of these shifts have happened at the same time, a lot of the media reporting, like this Fortune article here that I'm showing on my screen, kind of coupled Sam Altman and Dario Amati under the same umbrella when they were definitely not, right? Like Dario said that AI was going to eliminate 50% of white-collar jobs. Sam Altman didn't say that, right? He just essentially said that it was going to be very hard for entry-level jobs, and that entry-level jobs were at serious risk. And if you look at the statistics, what Sam Altman said is actually playing out, right? I've covered that multiple times over the past 2 years in terms of entry-level jobs, especially for college graduates, are down, I believe, 14%, which is a huge drop. So technically what Sam Altman said was correct, but maybe the framing of his initial comments maybe got out of hand. But what he said, technically very correct. What Dario Amati said, very not correct. So it seems like Dario got a little bit of a bailout, that they kind of were both softening their stances because Dario's was very, very wrong. All right. And again, I don't know why people get mad at me, right? When I point out facts, people are like, oh, you're anti-Anthropic. I'm like, no, I'm just pro-truth. And the pro-truth right now, at least, is 50% of white-collar jobs have not been eliminated due to AI. And I've been very consistent since day one of starting this podcast. I've always said that AI will take more jobs than it will create. I do know that AI is going to create millions of jobs. I don't know what those jobs are. I don't, aside from right now, there's a bunch of, CapEx data center building jobs that maybe we didn't know would exist, 4 years ago. But I think for the most part, what that looks like, no one knows. Personally, I think there's going to be a lot more entrepreneurship. There's going to be, gig work is going to be very common for people with college degrees, whether that's training models on the side. I'm not sure, but ultimately, we're not going to see a 50% reduction in white collar work anytime soon. But
AI moves too fast to follow, but you're expected to keep up. Otherwise, your career or company might lag behind while AI native competitors leap ahead. But you don't have 10 hours a day to understand it all. That's what I do for you. But after 700 plus episodes of Everyday AI, the most common questions I get is, where do I start? That's why we created the Start Here series, an ongoing podcast series of more than a dozen episodes you can listen to in order. It covers the AI basics for beginners and sharpens the skills of AI champions pushing their companies forward. In the ongoing series, we explain complex trends in simple language that you can turn into action. There's 3 ways to jump in. Number 1, go scroll back to the first one in episode 691. Number 2, tap the link in your show notes at any time for the Start Here series, or you can just go to starthereseries.com, which also gives you free access to our Inner Circle community where you can connect with other business leaders doing the same. The Start Here series will slow down the pace of AI so you can get ahead.
robots are coming, right? It just so happened this week, guys, all the AI news stories just kind of told the story in and of themselves. Sam Altman just put out a tweet yesterday saying that OpenAI is getting back in the robotics game. So he said that OpenAI is formally hiring for a new OpenAI robotics efforts, seeking hardware, operations, systems, and machine learning engineers to build robots that can be useful in the physical world. So this is pretty significant, showing that OpenAI, well, after kind of saying that they were pausing what they called some of these side treks, well, now robotics is back on the plate. So Sam Altman described this as a 2-step vision. He said in the near term, robots will help skilled workers build infrastructure, and in the long term, personal robots that can assist people with a broad range of physical tasks. Give me that one. My back hurts from putting away the dishes so much. Anyways, the robotics effort grew out of OpenAI's World Simulation Research Program, kind of stemming originally from some of their DALL-E and Sora work. So kind of going from the video generation models, which Sora, if you remember, Sora 2 at the time was very good. And it was really a world model, much more so than just a video model, which I think a lot of people saw. How OpenAI rolled it out, and I called this out at the time. I said this Sora 2, because you had to sign up via an app. I said this is bad. This is brain rot. But the model itself was really, really good. And it was a world model. So it's not like all of that research and all of that compute went to waste, because it does seem like that's going to help them speed up development on the robotics side. So the basic idea is that systems like Sora, OpenAI's video generation model that has been retired from ChatGPT, may help train robots in simulated environments before they are tested in the real world, which could reduce costs, speed up testing, and make failures less risky. So yeah, NVIDIA has been doing this for years. That's why they're one of the leaders in the tech that goes inside other robotics. But this is not OpenAI's first attempt at robotics. So from 2017 to 2020, the company worked on Dactyl, a robotic hand trained through reinforcement learning that learned tasks such as solving a Rubik's Cube, before OpenAI shut down the team and focused more on their language models. So OpenAI has also backed outside robotics companies through the OpenAI Startup Fund, including Figure AI's $675 million Series B round 2 years ago, 1X's
Technologies round and physical intelligence's $400 million round. So they've supported other robotics programs before. And interestingly enough, this move puts OpenAI in closer future competition with companies already chasing general purpose robots, namely Tesla's Optimus program. So yeah, more ways for Elon Musk and Sam Altman to compete. All right. And last but not least, for our AI news this week, Anthropic has released their latest and greatest model in Opus 4.8. So Anthropic has released Opus 4.8, an upgrade to their flagship AI model, while holding back its more powerful Mythos model for a later release, potentially in a few weeks. So Anthropic is pitching 4.8 as a more reliable work partner, especially at a time when businesses are worried about AI tools making confident mistakes or taking risky actions. So Anthropic says Opus 4.8 shows small improvements across benchmarks. So they did note that this wasn't a leap. It was a small step, right? This is a point update, but I wouldn't say it's probably their smallest point update that we've seen. So they did say it shows small improvements across benchmarks compared with Opus 4.7, but the company is placing more emphasis on honesty than raw test scores. So the company claims the model is more likely to flag uncertainty, ask clarifying questions, catch its own mistakes, and avoid unsupported claims. So that matters for workers and companies using AI for coding, writing, data analysis, or business planning, because a model that admits uncertainty can be more useful than the one that sounds confident while being wrong. So the model's standard pricing stays the same. That's good news, because usually when Anthropic comes out with a new model, even the point upgrades, right, going from 4.5 to 4.6 or 4.6 to 4.7, normally they come with a price increase, but this one did not. So if you are paying for this on the API side, it is still $5 per million input tokens and $25 per million output tokens. And it's available everywhere. So whether you're using it online at Claude AI, the Claude API, their console, if you're using it inside, right? Microsoft rolled it out everywhere. It's on cloud desktop. So if you have a paid cloud subscription, the new 4.8 model is there. I'll say this, my personal use, I don't like it. That's just me. I still think 4.6 is better than all of them. I think 4.6 is better than 4.7 and better than 4.8. I'll tell you why. I think 4.7 was kind of nerfed with this adaptive thinking. So Opus 4.6, I think, was a great model. 4.5 was good. 4.6, obviously a little bit better. I think 4.7, it was just very small updates, but at least using, I'm talking about using Claude AI on the front end. So using it either, on Claude.ai or on Claude desktop. I think 4.7 was a downgrade because of this adaptive thinking. You really just couldn't get Opus Claude in general to think with that new feature. It was pretty bad. And speaking of new features that are pretty bad, and I'm not alone in saying this, go read the reviews. The reviews on Opus 4.8 are very mixed. And one of the reasons is this big honesty push. What I've seen, this honesty thing is just straight up refusals, right? I shared about this on Twitter when it came out. I was, just doing some random testing, right when Opus 4.8 came out. I was trying to have it pull some information from old transcripts on my website, and it just refused. First, it told me, hey, I have to be honest with you. That doesn't exist. What you're asking for doesn't exist. I'm like, yes, it does. I told you it's on my website. Go find, right? All these things. I always give these open-ended, questions that make sure a large language model is good at instruction following. It can properly call tools and search the web and come back to you and, provide an answer. So very simple stuff. Opus 4.6, even the old sonnets all did this very well. And 4.8 just refused multiple times. It just didn't go to the web. It took me 3 times to actually get it to just do a simple web pull, right? Which is very bad, right? Because it kept saying, hey, in all honesty, Jordan, what you're looking for doesn't exist. So I don't know. That's my personal opinion. Let me know if you're listening on Spotify. What's your view on this? Live stream audience, let me know as well. All right, so that is all the big AI news for this week, but let's go through our roundup of what's new and what's next. Some of these are rumors, some of these are smaller stories, some of these are
big stories, but they just didn't make our cut. So here we go. Let's run through them. So first, Microsoft is unveiling, well, it's technically already here, but they're going to be unveiling it officially, their new NAI Image 2.5. So that's their new AI image model that debuted pretty impressively at number 3 on the AI image leaderboard, right behind Google's Nano Banana. OpenAI launched their Rosalind Biodefense and expanded the GPT Rosalind access for working with bio companies. Snowflake signed a $6 billion AWS deal tied to AI infrastructure in Amazon's Graviton chips. Meta starts charging. Yeah, they just rolled out a paid subscription for Meta AI. We'll see how that goes. Even though I think their Manus Spark model pretty good, I don't know how many people are going to pay for it, right? That's just me. All right. OpenAI also updated the default GPT-5.5 instant model for more natural responses. You know what? You guys know I'm not a fan of the instant models unless it's the equivalent of a Google search that you're going over. But this upgrade, it is pretty good. So make sure you check it out if you are one that chats with the instant model. I'm always going on thinking or pro. Speaking of OpenAI, I'm sad about this one. I hope they make some tweaks on it. So OpenAI replaced the Canvas mode with their new inline writing and code blocks. All right. So what this means, and you've heard me gush about Canvas since it came out, the Canvas mode itself is gone. So there used to be a toggle. Canvas mode had an inline collaborative editor that you could collaborate with ChatGPT inline. It was really good. It can write render code. So a lot of that functionality is still there. You just don't know about it. So now it's just going to kind of render that automatically when it assumes that you need it. So it still does a pretty good job at pulling it, but it's not a dedicated feature anymore. All right. Microsoft also launched Copilot Health, their health-focused AI assistant, and it's in preview right now. Robinhood launched agentic trading. Sounds like nothing could go wrong there. I mean, it sounds cool, but it also sounds very, very risky. All right, DuckDuckGo's no AI search traffic tripled after Google unveiled AI-focused search upgrades. Yeah, byproduct of people apparently not liking that, even though I absolutely love AI mode and the AI overviews. Google launched Universal Cart and AI Cart for checkout across multiple retailers. Microsoft rolled out their new design for Microsoft 365 Copilot, much flatter, much sleeker. Recent leaked builds suggest that Google is prepping some new updates to Notebook LM, including a canvas. Yes, bring me the canvas. Gemini's canvas is awesome. Preferences and connectors. Apple new report says Apple's smart glasses are reportedly delayed until late 2027 with 4 styles planned, but they look like they could be a category shaker. Speaking of leaks, there's a new leak that says Google is rolling out Gemini for business projects, shared chats, and workflow agents. CNN filed a copyright suit against Perplexity, alleging unlawful distribution of its content. DeepSeek made its temporary 75% price cut now permanent. All right, so that one's kind of resetting the price for open weight models after their last model was not super impressive. Grok launched Imagine Video 1.5, which actually took the top spot on the Arena Video rankings, overtaking Seedance 2. Microsoft made computer-using agents generally available in Copilot Studio. We went over that on Friday's AI features. OpenAI added Codex support for Windows, some new features, including computer use and remote control. So now all you Windows people that didn't get this feature when the rest of us got it like 3 weeks ago, go use it. It's mind-boggling. Anthropic had a big fundraise, $65 billion fundraise that puts them at a $965 billion valuation, temporarily putting them ahead of OpenAI. So we'll see what OpenAI's, if they do have another fundraising round before they go public, as both of these companies are racing to go public. Sesame launched their iOS preview of their lifelike AI conversational partner in 39 countries. Minimax announced their M3 model, really good on the benchmarks. That's their open weights multimodal model with a 1 million token context window. And Google Cloud launched their enterprise Nano Banana 2 and Pro with video to image preview. And that is generally available now. So That's a lot, y'all. I'm telling you, it is going to be a hot AI summer. Not just what we have a lot of announcements, that just came out and will continue to come out today at NVIDIA with Computex, Microsoft Build tomorrow. This is just the start. We're going to be expecting in June new models from Google with their Gemini 3.5 Pro. We're likely going to see a GPT-5.6 from OpenAI any minute. So it is an exciting time, but I know it's a lot. That's why we do this every single day. So if this show is helpful, let me know about it. Number one, if you are in San Francisco, reach out, say hi. Number two, if you're listening on the podcast, please click that subscribe or the follow button. That really helps us a lot to make sure we can keep doing this thing, but also it helps other people that are trying to find unbiased, just helpful information, help them navigate the AI waters. And then when you're done doing those things, make sure you go to youreverydayai.com, sign up for our free daily newsletter. Thanks for tuning in. See you back tomorrow and every day for more Everyday AI. Thanks, y'all.
And that's a wrap for today's edition of Everyday AI. Thanks for joining us. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe and leave us a rating. It helps keep us going. For a little more AI magic, visit youreverydayai.com and sign up to our daily newsletter so you don't get left behind. Go break some barriers, and we'll see you next time.